All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the Helm developer call of today, Thursday, November 5th, 2020. I hope everybody's doing well. We'll start as usual with announcements if we have any, and then we'll go into discussions. So if I look in the document, we have no announcements. Is that correct? Anybody? All right,
I guess we could have put, hey, end of Helm V2 is coming in 8 days. Woo!
Yeah, I was just thinking we have one more meeting before we can say it's going tomorrow. Bye.
I just thought of two things. I did just think of two announcements. One, the stable and incubator repositories are about to leave the Artifact Hub. So if you get your details on them from there, they're going to be going. And then the second is next Wednesday, we cut Helm 3.4.1. And so any core maintainers who want to get reviews in or work on stuff, next Wednesday, we cut it. That's the new schedule.
This is great. I love that we're following the schedule already adamantly. And as a side note, Matt, Farina, and I are meeting tomorrow to create the calendar that will help follow. And anything else from the announcements? Anybody? All right, then right into discussions. So on the topic of deprecation, Bridget, you put in a couple of points. 8 days to go.
Yeah, I feel like we should ask people if they like their amounts. It's a little bit more than 24 hours to go, but I don't know about you, but I could probably just see another blog post or something. I'm thinking like, because the information that the people who are going to do nothing but are going to panic, maybe we need like, I don't know if it just fits in a tweet or it goes in a blog post. I want to know what people think, but I feel like the one piece of information that people who are not going to change any of their anything need is, okay, at least you have to point your stable somewhere else with your old Helm 2.16. Whatever. Thoughts as to whether that's worth isolating and highlighting? I'm kind of just thinking like, in case of emergency, break glass, if you did nothing else, is there anything else we would need to put in such a blog post?
I guess we covered Tiller. I'm thinking from our perspective, we just migrated to 2.17 because we were worried about Tiller. The rest was a little bit less of a worry. You can, hey, it doesn't work, look on the internet, figure it out. And then Tiller was more, shoot, nothing's working anymore on this cluster. Well, I'm exaggerating. No deployment.
So
yeah,
Bridget,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I could see a second blog post because I think one of the things we should teach people is how to move their stuff out of the stable and incubator, using something like git subtree in order to pull the charts commits out and details out, and then using Scott script to pull out the extra, something like that may be worth putting out in a blog post too, just to say point blank, you want to pull your exact history in this thing out. Here's what you can do.
Remind people to check requirements.
What was that, Joe?
Remind people to check requirements, YAML.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I thought I read a blog about Scott's script, or was that a PR?
It was mentioned.
Yeah, I was also thinking about how you grab the Git history, the history of the chart, not just the archives that are generated, but literally the commit history for it too. You could do that at the same time.
So we have that mostly automated. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, like, in the interest of time, because I think we all agree we need a blog post that has the very minimal stuff you need to do. I will reach out to the people who had opinions and help spearhead getting that written this week.
And make sure it wasn't something already in Vic's post.
Oh, yeah. I'm just saying, I'm thinking like this is the very stripped down, no explanations, just this is the stuff you have to do, the tactical blog post. Okay. I don't want to take too much time on that. I was just like, do we need it? Answer, yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Bridget. Next is about communication. Farina, please.
All right. So one of the things that we realized is there are a ton of people who aren't in the Helm community who use Helm. And this showed up when we were trying to communicate about everything going on. And so it's how can we come up, what communications channels can we do in order to better reach end users, right? Because we have a problem. We can blog it, we can put it up on Twitter, we can do this, but that's going to the community. The community is probably 1% of people, while there's 99% of people who just blindly use Helm, maybe because their company told them to, or because there's some tool and something else they use, and they're not paying attention. How can we communicate with them to let them know when something happens? And this doesn't happen often. We'd probably like to communicate when there's a security issue or things like what we've had lately, like when Helm v3 goes end of life. How are we going to communicate that for Helm v4? I mean, it's a ways off, but what communications channels could we use and do? And I know some things like Minikube has a little pop-up where they notify you of things that are happening, and they've built it right into Minikube. So after a certain version of it, and some tools will do that. So this is a question of what kinds of things can people think of that we could or should do?
Well, the two examples you give, if I may, the second example, when it's a deprecation, you can, like you said, mention it in the tool itself. In a securities issue, you know, if you want to tell people, hey, you need to upgrade, you can't do that. It's too late. You can't pass the message in a tool that they've already installed. So you need something else.
Unless the messages are pulled from the internet.
Interesting.
So corporate/enterprises get squirrely when you do stuff like that. There was a pretty famous Canonical/Ubuntu message of the day thing from a few years ago where they were almost effectively pulling ads to stick in your MOTD. Now, I know we're not going to put ads in there, but
yeah, but no, I can understand. This is why I'm bringing it up, because I don't necessarily have great ideas, but I'm looking for thought and feedback and criticism, because I'm just throwing stuff out there.
I mean, I think one obstacle is for things that they know a lot of their customers use, but they aren't a product in their product line. Clouds have varying opinions on whether or not they will do pushes to those users because of our history with Azure. We're able to get Azure to email customers, even though it's not a product, and say, hey, customer, we see that you're using this thing. We want you to have a good experience. Here's some information. The other clouds, it varies, but I feel like maybe if we can approach that from the people they are getting their services from, maybe those people, if we can get them to put a message out in the stream, seems like something that the customer might read. And I say customer deliberately, because I'm not just talking about the open source end users out there who we're trying to reach through our channels. I'm talking about the people who will listen to something coming from their service provider. If we can get their service provider to tell them, I'm not saying that that's a solved problem, but that is something that customers might read.
Yeah, I'm kind of a big fan, and it was mentioned earlier around the around warning and deprecation messages. So, if somebody even just runs a Helm command, up comes, whatever the deprecation is, if a particular command is going to disappear, or as we say, if we're going to move from Helm 3 to Helm 4 or whatever. So, in that way, it's not like, I suppose, like everything, you can put ads out there, you can put things in all different places, which, you can't make someone listen or hear it. Whereas if they are using the tool, and all right, there is a hole in that if they don't upgrade their tool, but that's a different story. But if they do upgrade the tool, they're going to get the message. So I think that usually works quite well if people are upgrading their tool. Now, people do ignore that sometimes as well, so that's another story.
Personally, I don't hate the idea of optionally enabling Helm announcement, like Scott is saying, and like Farina was saying, getting it off the internet. And then for Paul's concern, because I think it's legitimate, you could just, I don't know, not call the command, turn it off, just say, I don't know, something like that. Or because then we'd have access anytime to anybody using Helm. I don't know how intrusive that is, though. Anyway, maybe Farina, maybe it deserves an issue, or
It deserves a hip, but I wasn't even sure where to start with the hip.
Yeah, I was gonna say hip first, but
yeah. All right, I'm gonna think about this some more, and I'll start a hip at some point.
Thank you. All right. I saw Avni. You were gonna say something? Maybe it was just your microphone.
No, nothing.
Okay, thank you. All right, next point was release history is not pruned. That's a PR 8881, Farina.
Yeah, I was actually looking to get some maintainer feedback on this because so the basic issue here is if you go to install a chart and it fails, and then you keep trying to install it and it always fails, where the release history is pruned, it will never be pruned in this case because it doesn't get pruned until after you have a good installation. So if you repeatedly have like a system try to install something and it fails, you could end up with like 500 failed things in your history because it doesn't prune anything, right?
Yeah, Matt, it's a good one because technically it's a bug, but practically it's a bizarre situation. So I agree with Fisher on this in the sense that, look, if you start out to deploy a chart and it fails, why in the name of all goodness would you keep going for tens and hundreds and thousands of times?
Because CD does it for you.
All right, Joe.
It's automation. It's automation
Joe,
that's been built.
Let's not, yeah, but do you know what I mean? I don't care if it's automated or whatever else. You should have some bit of logic or some bit of. I think it's just a situation that's a little bit contrived in a way. I know you can do it, but it's a little bit contrived. I think the logic that's in there, based off of the last deployed release, is a valid logic from the angle I look at. I'm just worried sometimes when you start putting fixes in for, what would I call it, for, edge cases that are slightly contrived, you're just bloating code. And I'm not a great fan of that. That's kind of why I've been reluctant to, I've been unable to kind of say, yes, this is the review I've done on it. So yeah, that's just, but maybe some other people can come in on it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, didn't we get this because it was a real world problem somebody ran into because of their system?
Well, you can do it, but
yeah,
but this is kind of like the Darwin Award stuff. Darwin Awards can happen, but really, let's not do it. Like, okay, you can jump off a tree, down 100 meters, but should you do it? Everyone can make a mistake, but to let it build up to that amount isn't a mistake. It's just not addressing the problem. So that's kind of why, reluctant on it.
No, and I can understand it. I was just wanted to bring it up for discussion and get eyes on it. That's it.
So what I hear is I'm doing it wrong.
All right. So hopefully we can continue the discussion in the PR.
Yes, please. Yeah.
All right. Next one is a question about lint, multi-doc. Martin?
Yeah, I'm going to bring some positivity now. I've been positive enough so far. So this one is around. It's 8862 is the PR. So initially it was based off of another issue that was raised, but Matt correctly said, it should be based off of issue 8621, and it looks like it has fixed that, and there was another pull request 8913 that went to fix 8621, but I think has grown in size. So it'd be good to get a set of eyes, as Matt says, on it, so that, look, if 8913 has fixed 8621, then we should merge it in. And then the other pull request 8913, if that's still valid, we should maybe raise a new issue to cover the I suppose the growth of the issues that it's fixing. So it's become bigger than the original issue itself. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's two issues, right? One is if you've got an empty template with no YAML in it, and then the other is you have multiple YAML files in the same template, right? Both of them are possible. I think the issue covers the case where you have nothing ends up being in the YAML file, but somebody did a pull request that covers multiple documents in the YAML file. They pull from API Machinery's YAML parser, and I walked the code this morning on it, and all it really does is it uses the same YAML parser we're using already, but it sticks a custom reader in there that looks for the separator. And so you can literally like hit it and read it once and then read it again and keep reading it until you hit the end of the file and end of files returned. So you can read multiple documents from it. And then
it just unmarshals it. Yeah, it unmarshals it through the YAML. Yeah.
And it uses the same unmarshaller we're using now. And so I walked the code path and it all makes sense. Maybe there's just an issue missing for the, although I thought there was a different issue for the multiple things in a file. There may already be an existing issue to link into this. But otherwise, the code path looks good to me. I just finished reviewing it before the call.
So do we want to then go with that issue and not merge the other issue then? Because is that fixing both?
Yeah, I would merge them both. In one case, you get the tests because, and in this case, you test for both situations.
You know, it tests for, oh yeah, if the test in both
test for an empty
PRs.
and the test for multiple. So I would merge them both just so you could even get the tests.
Okay, so, sounds good. Yeah, this one else. Yeah, I can have a look at that again tomorrow as well. My time.
All right, thank you. Before we go on to the next item, because it's mine, how about people go on the chat and volunteer for moderator notes and triage, if you don't mind, or in the document. Next item. Quick questions for the backwards compatibility. So first, my apologies. I've started a HIP to document backwards compatibility, and I've been remiss. I haven't really given it much more attention, but I'll get back to it eventually, I hope. In the meantime, internal commands, are those subject to backwards compatibility, specifically Helm docs? Can we change the behavior? Do we need to put it behind a flag when we do? Anybody has an opinion?
I think we have to put it behind a flag when we do, because there may be others who are using that to generate documentation.
So in your opinion, we should probably treat it as a normal command, hidden or not? It's good for me, it's fine.
I'm on the conservative side, so yeah.
Okay, it's not a big deal. Anyway, it's a command that, we use it to generate the documentation, so we'll just document the flag and that's fine. All right, thank you. Next item. Bridget, what's the best source of replacement examples for the docs?
Yeah, so I was chatting with Adam, actually, who isn't on the call today, but I was looking at a bunch of examples in the docs that say like, so use this chart from the stable repo, blah, 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 blah example. And I thought, so those examples are going to become, I mean, right now, a bunch of them are like such and such with the date stamp 2016. So, they're out of date anyway, but like, I'm thinking, should we have an authoritative source of some examples for the docs instead of pointing to, eventually we would have to be like, here's a chart, it's over in Bitnami, hope it's fine. And then there ends up being drift and I don't know. Anyway, Adam seemed interested in, he suggested perhaps we end up with something in the Helm org, which is like examples, and they aren't intended to be production quality anything. It's just like, these are examples we're using in the docs. And I said I would put it on the agenda to see what people think.
That sounds good, because you can document best practices, why somebody might do something a certain way, right in line in those examples too, and they could be good teaching things.
That sounds like a good idea.
Right, that was pretty simple.
All right.
Is there
Well, we have
anything
8
else?
minutes left.
We have 8 minutes. Wow. I would actually, if we have room in the agenda, I would love to hear. Josh is funny. Here's a chart from Bitnami, or I don't want to pick on Bitnami, but anyone. Like, I just kind of feel like if a chart changes over time, having our docs point to it as here's an example is kind of unfair to the chart. It's like, I'm not trying to be your example. I would love to hear from, if people want to, anyone who is joining us who is either new to the call or doesn't speak up all the time, but would love to tell us what's on their mind with the impending doom in 8 days. Yeah, I would just love to hear what you're thinking, and I will start the ball rolling by pointing at Dan Garfield because he is unmuted.
Going on mute.
He goes on mute. But yeah,
Or maybe
if
on that
anyone wants to
topic.
tell us.
Yeah, on that topic or any other topic, if you join the call for something specific, we have time, which is great.
Yeah.
Don't be shy.
I'll answer your question, Bridget. We've had to basically change a bunch of code. We had to backport issues to old versions, and we're trying to inform our customers that they have to upgrade or else their stuff's not going to work. So it's a lot of consternation.
Joe, 1 second on that one. You don't have to upgrade for your stuff to work. Okay. So that's the point. It's just that V2 will go end of life. So that's an important point.
And any V2 and any stable charts you're using.
All right, with the stable charts.
You need to update.
Any charts you're using that had a stable chart in its requirements.
Well, no, you just need to update the URL.
Yeah, you have to update the URL, otherwise it'll try to restart and it won't work, which is, I mean, essentially the same as updating in terms of amount of work and process.
Yes. So it's not as if, things won't work anymore, but it's just that the important aspect of that is, it's the deprecation in the end of life. Just to be aware of that.
This is all stuff that's wrapped by software, and so the customer doesn't actually touch that. So yeah, we actually have to do all our changes, make sure that we actually forked all the stuff before you had a new home for it. And so everything's pointing at our fork, and we have to get that out to customers and make sure they upgrade. So yeah, there's
and
still
at a minimum, you might not need to upgrade like urgently to V3. Don't quote me on it, but 217 that just came out, that I think is important to move to because of Tiller.
Well, we don't know exactly when Tiller will go away because, well, the charts are going away. GCR, we don't know when GCR is going away. Now, GCR itself, if you read the GCR, so Google has a new container registry called the Artifact Registry. I think that's the name of it. And in the docs for the Artifact Registry, they say when it goes GA, GCR will be around for at least 6 months. So we know that GCR is going to be around for a little while. We just don't know how long. And so instead of upgrading GCR to handle the new features, they're replacing it with a new service. And so we know GCR is going to go away at some point. We just don't know when. And we also don't know how long this GCR account is going to be around for that has Tiller in it, because we haven't been told it's going away. We haven't been told anything about it, really. And so since we, the Helm project, actually don't necessarily control that, it's a Google internal project. We wanted to make sure it was in a location that we controlled. We trust Google, but we also just don't know.
So I have a question about the impending deprecation when things actually go away and presumably things begin to break, because we know that things always begin to break when you deprecate something and finally take it away. What is the, like, what's the emergency procedure in place, I guess, is kind of the category of question I'm asking. Is there actually a circumstance in which somebody might say, okay, this thing that broke is big enough or widespread enough that we're actually going to temporarily put the repos back for a little while until we can work through this? Or like once it's gone, is it gone?
So the answer to that is not one you're going to like, which is we don't control what Google deletes or doesn't delete, what Google renames or doesn't rename. We don't control that.
We could actually preemptively delete. So if you wanted, I know this sounds crazy, but if you wanted to have the ability to bring something back because it freaked people out, then that means you have to yank the cord out before Google does. And then you could put it back potentially.
But then we know we're going to give people a bad day.
The current plan is when those locations get deprecated, I believe every chart is going to have its source pointed to a single archive that just fails with a message telling them to point to the new location is currently the plan.
If Google does give us like a 6 months notice kind of thing, we may want to think about like a month before doing it, as long as we communicate it, because then I don't know. I don't know if there's a situation where you'd actually bring it back. You know.
So the Stable and Charts repository, we've been communicating for a long time that it's going away, even that it was gonna be gone, and I realized until that, you know, that's what happens until it becomes a big thing, urgent fire in our face. That's when everybody jumps on it. But it had been known that it's going to go away for a while, and so that's why I don't know and why they're iffy on giving more room, because we knew it was going away. People have been told, that have been documented.
I've been telling you.
I mean, I think it might actually be worth thinking about. I don't know if I say I favor doing this, but it might be worth thinking and discussing about the idea of, like he was saying, preemptively just take it away for a half hour and see if people yell. And then if they do, then at least you've done it in a controlled fashion where you can put it back, and then you know who is actually going to be affected, and you can say, hey, we've been saying this is going away. Like, it's really going away. So you need to do something about it now before we can't bring it back.
Right. Even if we consider that, I think it would be reprehensible of us to do it during everyone in retail shopping holidays change freeze period. So even if we consider that, correct me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't after the first of the year be a time that would be possible to experiment with?
Yeah, because my impression is that we're looking at like March, April, May for it to actually go away, because they're going to have to do 6 months after the launch of this new thing. So we're at least 6 months away right now because they haven't launched it yet, right?
Can I add one point as well, in case somebody's watching this video? We are saying that we will still, when the Google URL goes away, we'll still have the charts.helm.sh URL, so that these archive charts will still be hosted stable and incubator. Isn't that correct?
They're still going to be there.
Yeah, no, I just want to put that just in case someone is listening here and they think they're gone. So just for clarification, basically.
It's the URL location that's going to change.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to echo something Bridget said that kind of resonated with me, which was when they get turned off, it's going to be a really bad day for a lot of people. And we shouldn't be trying to accelerate that or experiment with that and artificially cause it at like any time of the year. I just think that's not particularly good. Having been on the other end of that.
Yeah, I'm not advocating that we necessarily should. I'm just thinking, like, if you can't control when it goes away, the only way to control when it goes away is to do it earlier. And I don't know if that improves the situation. I'm just trying to brainstorm around the problem. So I'm not saying we should do it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. For instance, we're over 1 minute. Do you want to continue? Do you want to continue next week? We're not gonna delete it this week, so the discussion could be taken up next week.
Yeah, I just wanted to make clear to what Martin said. The charts.helm.sh stable and incubator aren't going away anytime soon. We control the DNS. So if we decide we need to move it in the future, we can. The Google storage location, which we do not control, that's what will be going away soon. And we can't extend it. We can't change it. People can go to Googlers and try to get them to extend the window, but that's up to them because it's a Google corporate controlled, not an external one. And there isn't the funding there to take it over with what the external cost would be. So that will go away. We're not going to change that. It's on their timetable, not ours. So we don't get a say in it. But the new location, we do have control over, and we could migrate to another place if we needed to.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, if you're listening, change your URL to charts.helm.sh, please. I like simplification. I'm a kind of a KISS kind of person. So yeah.
And Helm 2.17 tells you exactly what the URL is and everything. So if you use that, it's...
And 3.4.0, if my numbers are okay, will tell you the same thing too.
That's right.
Or else I've thought of some other sim version for something else. I'm not sure. There we go.
You're right. All right. So we're 3 minutes past the time. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And hopefully we'll see you again next Thursday. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.